Welcome to the Johnson's Innovation Tech and Troubleshooting Series. Today we will be explaining the rebuilding procedure for the Banjo pump used on the feeder meter system. Over time, the pump will lose pressure or begin to leak between the pump and motor housing. It is critical to rebuild the pump as soon as possible when one of these instances occur. Unrepairable damage can be caused if the bearing seizes during operation or liquid finds its way down the motor shaft. The Banjo Repair Kit number 12,000 ABN will supply all of the necessary components to repair the pump assembly. Any housing pieces that are damaged must be replaced separately. The hydraulic and gasoline motor-powered pumps are rebuilt in the same manner. While it is possible to rebuild the unit while still attached to the feeder meter system, today we will be on the bench. After removing the engine mounting bolts and the flanges from the inlet and outlet, the pump can be removed. First, remove the bolts around the perimeter of the pump housing. After removing the pump housing, check the inside for contamination or physical damage. Now remove the rubber volute from the impeller housing. Inspect it for wear or cracks. Remove the 3 screws that attach the impeller housing to the backing plate. Inspect this housing for contamination or damage. Scoring from the impeller is common, but an hourglass shape to the volute housing will cause issues if reassembled. The warping of the volute housing is a result of temperatures in excess of 150 degrees Fahrenheit. If the volute housing repeatedly shows this pattern of wear, monitor the water temperatures to ensure that the system is never in contact with liquids this hot. Replace this housing if necessary. Remove the center bolt on the impeller. By grabbing the impeller with a towel or a glove, it should give you enough leverage to break the bolt loose. The impeller should slide easily from the shaft. Be sure to retain the key stock that aligns and drives the impeller. Remove the 4 bolts retaining the pump backing plate and remove it from the crankshaft. Be sure to remove and replace the slinger seal from the shaft before reassembly. It may be also helpful to polish and clean the shaft with emery paper to keep a clean surface with the pump surfaces that it contacts. Remove the bearing piece from the pump backing plate. In this instance, a socket and a hammer are used. The bearing should remove easily. If more force is needed than a tap, inspect the housing for damage or replace the backing plate. Clean all of the components of the pump that are to be reassembled thoroughly. Once again, inspect the housings for damage or wear. Once the motor shaft has been polished and the slinger seal is in place, reassembly can begin. After placing the O-ring into the pump backing plate, place a light film of black RTV sealant to the metal part of the bearing. Using a large socket or installation tool, carefully insert the bearing into the pump backing plate with even pressure, being mindful not to contact or contaminate the bearing surface. Once the bearing has been installed into the housing, reinstall the pump backing plate onto the motor. Replace the O-rings on the mounting bolts and use medium strength liquid thread lock to secure the bolts into place. The bolts should not be more than snugly tightened. Prepare the impeller for assembly by first making sure the hex spacer has been placed from the used impeller to the new one. Then place a thin film of black RTV silicone to the rubber seal of the ceramic bearing. Again, be careful not to contaminate the bearing surface. Use the supplied paperboard disc in the bearing set to protect the bearing as it's installed. Place the shaft key into the impeller and install it on the motor shaft. Replace the impeller bolt washer before securing the impeller. The washer that we use is a 3/8 faucet washer. Used in conjunction with medium strength thread lock, this will ensure the impeller stays connected tightly to the motor shaft. Place a thin film of black RTV over the rubber seal that mounts the inside of the impeller housing and position it into place. Reinstall the impeller housing and the rubber volute flap. Replace the pump housing O-ring and remount the outer pump housing. Medium strength thread lock can be used on the pump housing bolts and will help to eliminate the nuts from backing off during heavy use. Allow the sealant and thread lock to set for at least 2 hours before testing or reinstalling on your feeder meter system. Thank you for watching. Please visit us at johnsonsinnovations.com for more tech videos and innovative ideas.